The great one, as he is known from our friend Sean Hannity. Mark Levin joins us live. Mark, good morning to you.
Good morning.
I got two questions for you to start with, and I know you've got some comments prepared. But number one, do you think this will be televised if Donald Trump does go on trial in New York, because they don't necessarily have courtroom cameras? And also, do you think the former president will take the stand in his defense?
You know, Steve, here's the deal. This isn't about the law. This isn't about publicity. This isn't about a headshot and fingerprints and all the rest. People need to understand, in my view, the broader picture here. 2 impeachments, a criminal investigation, 5 grand juries, a phony case that nobody would ever bring against anybody, another phony investigation in Georgia over the word find the votes, and then there are 2 phony investigations in Washington, D.C. over documents where we would never use a warrant and a SWAT team. If it had been the Reagan administration and I was chief of staff to Attorney General Meese, that never would have happened. Or to try and take January 6th and criminalize what is a purely political procedure under Article 2 of the Constitution. The bigger picture here is, as far as I am concerned, we have crossed the Rubicon. This is a tyranny now. Now, what am I talking about? We want to talk about the niceties of the law, the elements of the law. You can't prove that. It doesn't matter. The law here is dead. They're not using the law. Bragg is not being motivated by the law. Neither are any of these Soros prosecutors. They tell you every day what they're up to. They're up to not following the law. When you have a president of the United States and Joe Biden who says over and over and over again that Donald Trump and his supporters are a threat to democracy, he's sending a signal out there to his mob. He's sending a signal out there to the Democrats in Congress. He's sending a signal out there to their prosecutors, and they've heard him. Pelosi has said the same thing. Schumer said the same thing. The media have said the same thing. They've compared Trump to Hitler and to other horrific figures in the historic past. And so Bragg and the others look at their job as taking this guy out. The media have said the same thing. We have to put impartiality and objectivity aside. That cannot be our pursuit anymore. This man is a fundamental existential threat to the country. Therefore, we must take him out. And then when you take the environment in which the Democrat Party is operating, which is putting together phony legal memos to go after parents at school board meetings, using SWAT teams to go after a preacher who was protesting at an abortion clinic where the local DA wouldn't take the case and nobody would take the case, and they bring a federal case against the man, and he's found innocent in 2 days. I can go down the list. They've prosecuted 1,000 people already. January 6th, the U.S. attorney who will not prosecute local crimes lets 70% of the local crimes pass, won't take them, says there's 1,000 more people to go after. This is a war on the Republican Party. They want to change the voting system. They want to pack the Supreme Court. They want to pack the Senate. The borders are wide open to change the demographics of the country. This is exactly what I wrote about here. That's what's going on. You got to be able to understand what's going on from the bigger picture. And this sort of thing is happening in totalitarian regimes. The Democrat Party hates America. They never talk up America. They never quote from the Declaration of Independence. They use the Constitution to cherry-pick the Constitution. There's nothing they like about the country. They don't like the economic system of the country. And the guy that stood up against them and prevented Obama from having his 3rd term with Hillary Clinton was Donald Trump. And Donald Trump understands this. He's not a Chris Christie type. He's not a Larry Hogan type. He's not a Chris Sununu type. Donald Trump is a once-in-a-generation leader. I don't care about all the static. He's a once-in-a-generation leader who actually sees what's going on, not because he's an ideologue, he's not, but because he's a businessman who looks at things like the rest of us look at things. We have Republicans who run for office, and they stay in Congress for 10, 20, 30 years, who do nothing. This man did a lot. And so the Democrat Party wants a one-party country. It wants a one-party system. And it has done the final thing that you do when you put the nail in the coffin of a republic, which is take the law and use it against the law. So I can sit here and break down the laws in Manhattan. I can sit here and break down the laws in Georgia. I could sit here and break down the laws about the Presidential Records Act and the Espionage Act and all the rest. That's not what's happening here. And it's not an accident that this happens in Democrat cities with Democrat judges, with Democrat prosecutors, with Democrat grand juries, and that's the way it's going to work. And the Republicans better wake the hell up. We need to circle the wagons. We need to understand what we're up against. This is much more fundamental than some phony rogue case by a phony rogue prosecutor who was installed by George Soros and the Democrats. This is much bigger than that. So to answer your question, I don't give a damn about the processing that goes on in Manhattan and all the rest of it. You know, people quote a lot and they don't know who they're quoting, and that would be Beria. Beria was one of the great genocidal maniacs of all time. He worked for Stalin. In the end, he was executed himself. And it is Leverity of Beria, who was a massive, ruthless killer. And he was the one who said, show me the individual and I will show you the crime. And this man was responsible for horrendous acts. This country has now become a tyranny in many respects. And the American people feel it. The American people know it. They see what's taking place. The American media had become the Pravda media because it's loaded with Democrats in the American media. And look, even Fox, Conservative Talk Radio, OAN, Newsmax, under constant attack, under constant pressure by sleazy lawyers, by sleazy, phony journalists, because they don't like the competition
and
of ideas,
and they're
period.
losing.
They don't want the competition from the Republican Party and conservatives. That is what's going on.
Mark, right now, the Fox News poll on Tuesday has Trump up by 30 points on Ron DeSantis, and this will probably only foster it. Let me ask you something. You interviewed the president yesterday, I understand, before the indictment came down. How would you describe his demeanor?
And I went back afterwards because I was invited to dinner. This is a remarkable man. I mean, would you be able to eat after you were charged like this with a phony prosecutor? He was very congenial. He was very strong. He was there with the former First Lady, and his son was there, Don Jr., and they couldn't have been. This is a real family. This is a very close family. If you saw the president and Melania together, they are tight as can be. They are strong as can be. He's a very decent man. He cares so deeply about the country. You walk around Mar-a-Lago or you look outside and you think to yourself, this man doesn't need any of this. All he has to do is say, I'm not running anymore. I give up. He won't give up. He's not going to back down to this stuff. And so his supporters and the rest of the American people need to understand that this is a unique man at a unique time in our history, that this country is in very, very grave danger when the law is being used this way against political opponents, a Republican Party, people who have different views at school board meetings and who are opposed to abortion. And it's even worse than that. The efforts by the Biden administration to censor free speech and the Democrat Party, the disinformation board that they want to create, the commingling of government with the social media platforms. Look. I have been studying totalitarianism and tyranny. I have been studying fascism and communism. This is it, guys. This is it. I know people think it can't be. It's the United States of America. What makes us different is our Constitution. What makes us different are the first 10 amendments, is the Bill of Rights within the Constitution. What makes us different is our customs and our traditions and our systems. And when you have one party that has given up all of that, that violates all the boundaries, that is in power for a temporary period of time and wants to make its power permanent, and they've done this in places like California and New York and Illinois and New Jersey, and they take those models and they try and superimpose it on the entire United States.
they all fail.
People are fleeing these blue states.
right,
That's
they
why
all fail.
Florida's population and Tennessee's population, they're going up. They're trying to find places where freedom still exists.
Right. Mark, we've been
And I
waiting.
am telling you right now, what Bragg has done is the tip of the iceberg. This man should be disbarred, but he won't be disbarred. You have a Democrat bar, you have a Democrat top court, you have Democrat judges. The whole system is fixed.
Mark, we just got some news, and the president was walking to, was it Air Force One or was
The
it
chopper.
the helicopter?
Marine One.
And we talked to Peter Doocy an hour ago, and he said we're all going to be asking questions to him. So a reporter says, Mr. President,
Fox.
do you think, it was Fox, yeah, Mr. President, do you think the charges against Trump were politically motivated? And he said, I have no comment on Trump. To be expected?
Well, why does he comment? The Democrat Party's doing all the dirty work for him. He's already sent the signal out that Donald Trump is a threat to the nation. You see these phony historians go on TV calling him a dictator. What has he done that's a threat to the nation? He's followed the laws. He's followed all the rules. He follows the Constitution, so they have to concoct events. The January 6th committee, that is a typical Soviet-style commission that was pulled together, all one-sided, yet a few hacks from the Republican Party to make it look like it was bipartisan. Clearly it wasn't. I could go on and on and on about all this stuff. Look at Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton cut a deal with an independent counsel who could have charged him for 15 different crimes. When he lied to the grand jury and he lied under oath, he lied in front of a federal judge. But they cut a deal to prevent something like this. Hillary Clinton would be doing life in prison if obstruction was a real crime that was applied to Democrats, given the number of emails that they destroyed. What is she doing? She's running around out there, you know, attacking
Professor in
Republicans,
Columbia.
attacking Trump and so forth. Joe Biden, the idea that Joe Biden, a man who took money for the communist Chinese, I don't care if it was laundered through his son or not, that family got over $30 million in communist Chinese money, according to Peter Schweitzer's excellent research. They set him up in Washington, D.C. in a phony think tank where he made $900,000 a year. 2 years, the guy makes $17 million. He's been in the Senate his entire life. He can't put 7 words together, and he's paid for speeches. And we all know what's going on here. This is corruption through and through, and that's the way it works. Democrats are immunized by the FBI, by an attorney general who is a lapdog to this president. They have their U.S. attorneys in place. They dragged this guy, Jack Smith, back from The Hague, who was humiliated by the U.S. Supreme Court in one case in a unanimous decision that threw out one of his cases, and humiliated by a jury in North Carolina when he went after John Edwards. That's the guy you pick? No, he's a mad dog. He's a rogue prosecutor. Democrat DA in Atlanta, Democrat radical left-wing kook in Manhattan. And we're sitting here debating the law, which isn't even the law.
Right, and
It's not
and
the
just
law.
amazing.
The federal law doesn't apply.
Right.
Everybody knows that.
Well, we'll
the
see what-
federal law
Right.
does not apply.
And we'll see what-
Period.
we'll
the
see what-
state law violates the statute of limitations. Period.
And we will see what the charges are next week. Mark, thank you very much. Tune into the show this weekend. Find out more about the conversation you had with the president before and after the indictments were handed up from the grand jury this weekend.
And Mark, and you're kind
thank
enough
you.
to join me this weekend, too. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Mark
busy.
Levin. All
God
right.
bless.
Thank you, Mark. Great to see you.
Want to see more Mark Levin? Go to levintv.com and subscribe now.